at 6 runs. 6 runs there to Dylan Douglas. Total advance is now to 136 with a loss of 6. So Sampal Kami, the ball to Dylan Douglas, and Douglas is getting a one right up in the block hole and just drops it short, and they'll come back for the second very quickly. Throw comes in and it's the run out. Let's see the signal. And umpire Butler doesn't seem too interested. For a moment I thought he was gone, but a good throw coming in there from Karan, racing off the boundary and trying to first and foremost avoid the second and picking up the wicket. It didn't happen. 2 more added to the total, now 138 for the loss of 6. So Douglas is now up to 23 as bowler comes in now, and this delivery finds a player coming off of that deep square leg position, and it's 1 more to the total. 139 now for the loss of 6. Douglas is on to 24, and the new batter in Larry Edwards taking guard. As you might have picked it up in our microphone, some chattering and instructions going around from a Nepalese fielder. And now Captain Rohit asking that short fine leg to go right back on the fence. And player's going to come also onto the deep backward square leg boundary in Karan. So just some changes taking place as Sampal comes in out to bowl to Larry Edward, and Edwards is forced back, punches into the mid on and into the onside, and 1 more added in the process. It's 140 now for the loss of 6. And Kami forced to break his run there. He's going to go back to the top of his mark. And will now come into bowl to Douglas. Delivery that is high, straight back over the bowler's head. And that's 6 more. Almost striking all of the spectators under the coconut trees there at the northern end. Close to that scoreboard. It's 150. Make that 146, I should say, for the loss of a 6. But good shot there from Douglas. And he advances to 30. Sampal. Delivery, and it's pulled. And it's going to get it way close to the fence. And just pulled back there by Karan. 2 runs added in the process. It's now on to 148 for the loss of 6. So good comeback over there for the Windward Island Volcanoes. And with 3 more to go at 148 for 6, they might very well still be fancying a total of 175 to put some challenge here for this Nepal team, as Captain Rohit picked up 2 wickets in his previous over And I would certainly like for such to happen, or even better things. This over from the southern end here at the Park Hill playing field. So Larry Edward, he's on 8. And Rohit, this one is he bowled? It will appear that such is the case, yes. Had a swing at it and clipped that bail there, and Edward bowled behind his back. And Rohit, just like he started his previous over, getting the wicket on his very first ball. The Volcanoes are 148 for the loss of 7, as Asif Hooper will now come to the wicket. The bearded Asif Hooper, and pretty much a player who knows the conditions here at Park Hill. Asif Hooper is from the northern end of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from the North Windward constituency, as we call it, and a player who can certainly muscle his way around. He's shown his exploits in the local VPL here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but also done it in 1 or 2 other Windward Islands, and was a T10 tournament in Tobago that Asif Hooper also excelled. So brings a lot to the table here, and would really like to ensure that the Volcanoes post as much as possible on the board. As Rohit comes in out to bowl to Asif Hooper. Hooper works this one off his legs, and the fielder couldn't prevent that single. It's on to 149 now for the loss of 7. Asif Hooper immediately off the mark. Douglas is still very much there. He's on 32. Kabem Hodge contributed 38. As this one he hikes straight, and it's into another banana patch here at Park Hill. A big lustily blow there from Dylan Douglas. The 150 is up on the board for the Windward Islands. They're now 155 for the loss of 7 wickets. So despite the fact that there's that continued loss of wickets, you see Douglas still trying to motor along, and apparently it appears as if that ball might not be retrieved. There's a fair amount of shrub at that end of the ground. Might be difficult to retrieve that ball at this point in time. Meantime, the reserve umpire brought out the box with balls. Still trying to retrieve. There's someone in the bushes ahead of us. Not yet on your screen, but efforts being made to retrieve that ball that has seen 17 plus overs. So it's 155 for the loss of 7. And following their stay here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Nepal, they'll go on to Texas, where they'll be playing a Houston 11 as they continue training, practicing for Cricket World Cup 2024, being hosted in the West Indies and the USA. Of course, St. Vincent and the Grenadines are preparing to host some 5 matches. And work is certainly moved along at the Islandsville playing field, where, as I speak to you, there is installation of light towers, extensive work done on the outfield, on the pitch itself. There have been some rehabilitation work to the pavilions, and certainly Islandsville, which is a lovely cricket ground. It's a gem globally. Certainly will be in all its glory as St. Vincent and the Grenadines host 5 T20 World Cup games for 2024. And doesn't appear as if that ball has been retrieved, so there's been a change in ball in the 17th over, as Douglas will now settle now as Rohit comes in. And outside the off stump, stayed along the turf for white signal there by the umpire, and they went through for a second. So 2 more added to the total. They should move on to 157 now for the loss of 7. 157 for 7. And Asifupa will now take strike. So the bearded Asifupa settles over his bat. And yet we see one of those, well, just a swapping of positions. As Captain Rohit now comes in out to bowl to Asifupa. Fupa is forced back, but in the process is off for a very quick single. Just dropped it in front of him and immediately ran. And 1 more added. It's 158 for the loss of 7. 158 for 7. There's Rohit. Douglas gets one wide outside the off stump. No need to play. Signal a wide by the umpire. Rohit. And this one is high, hard, over the fence. And the 6 it is. Again, very close to that area, and for a moment, the fielder there on that long arm position appeared as if he would have caught something, but was just toying with the spectators here at Park Hill, because that was gone for another 6 off the bat of Dylan Douglas. And taking the total now up to 165 for the loss of 7. Douglas is on to 44, I believe. Yes, he's on to 44. And, well, they're still trying to retrieve that ball. So that's 2 balls off the bat of Dylan Douglas yet to be returned. And should be seeing the reserve umpire coming in soon with a replacement. So we're yet to, well, the ball is actually now being returned. Now the question is, was that the first ball that was lost, or was it the replacement ball? I'm not in a position to say. The umpire will now have a look at it. And well, both balls are now back. So it's a question as to which ball will be used. And I believe they will resort to the original ball. That will appear to be the case. And Captain Rohit will continue the battle here for Nepal. 165 for 7 in this over number 18. As Dylan Douglas will prepare to take strike once again. Outside the off stump, and another wide off the bowling of the Nepalese captain. Second wide of the over. Maybe being rattled a bit. Douglas hits this one high, hard, and the fielder's trying to get under it. Can't, and that's 6 more. So Rohit coming in for a bit of a rough treatment here, as signals with his bat. 50 on the board there for Dylan Douglas. And 172 now for the loss of 7. And with 2 overs after this one, there's still the possibility of a 200-plus score here by the Windward Islands Volcanoes, despite the fact that it appeared as if they would have lost their way in the middle. But with Dylan Douglas, who's in a no-nonsense mood, and Asif Hooper, who we know can power it, the possibility is still very much there. As now we see both batsmen getting their helmets. It's going to be Asif Hooper to face up Sompal, coming from the northern end in the 19th over. Sompal Kami it is. Asif Hooper taking guard. And with these 2 overs left, we certainly might very well see further explosions from this Windward Island Volcanoes team as Sompal Kami breaks into his stride now on the bathing sunshine here at the Park Hill playing field. Comes in on balls to Asif Hooper. Hooper. This one off the bat into the pad. Very importantly, they offer that very quick single. And one more to the total. It's 173 for the loss of 7. 173 for 7. Cricket in action here in St. Vincent Island, the Grenadines. A rural ground, a ground that was put in place some 10+ years ago. It's really a beauty. It's nestled between the mountains in the back and the Atlantic Ocean. This one is a wild swing there from Douglas, and didn't get any bat onto the ball. Might have very well hurt himself in the process. Let's hope such is not the case. And I will go up and prods at the pitch as if to say, well, that was probably the pitch. But we in this commentary position know that's certainly not the case, as Sompal races in. And this one is up in the air. Bowler's trying to get the catch. He's under it and takes it. Lovely work there from Sompal. And Dylan Douglas losing his wicket in the process, trying to certainly get as much on the board here for the Windward Island Volcanoes. Gone for 50, and it's now 150 for the make that 173 for the loss of 8. Very important wicket of Dylan Douglas going down there for the Windward Island Volcanoes. So there you see Douglas making his way back in, and Sherman Lewis, the young Grenadian batter, more known for his exploits as a bowler. Sherman Lewis will join Asif Hooper at the wicket, and Sompal is back at the top of his mark. He's ready to continue. Lewis just taking his guard in the process. So Douglas really looking to get the charge on, and didn't get onto that one in the way in which he would have hoped to, and skied it, and the bowler taking the catch in the process. 173 for the loss of 8 to Windward Island Volcanoes. So here's Sompal Kami now to come into bowl to Lewis, and Lewis is looking to work one off his pads. It's down the leg side, and that's signal a wide there by umpire Butler. So one extra to the total. 174 now for the loss of 8. So Sherman Lewis. This one is looking to punch somewhere down to that long on position, and ricocheted off his pads, found it into that fine leg position there, looking for a third, which is not there, and total will go on now to 176 for the loss of 8. And this is the 19th over. One more to come after this. And no doubt these two at the wicket will like to get as close as possible to that 200-run mark, 190. Might still very well be a decent total here at the Park Hill playing field. As Sampal will coming out to bowl to Lewis, and Lewis is finding that one outside the off stump. Got no bat on the ball, and that's a dot delivery, very important for the Nepal team. Total remains at 176 for the loss of 8. Sampal, as though it's awaits this one and getting bat onto the ball. It's gonna go over the fence there for 6 more, and that's what the Windward Island Volcanoes need at this point in time. They're up to 182 now for the loss of 8, and that's the end of a spell there from Sampal. Picking up a couple of wickets here today at the Islands, at the Park Hill playing field, and in the process, of course, getting what we call in local parlance some stick in the process. So 182 for 8 with 1 more to come. It'll be interesting to see who's going to bowl this last over. Captain Rohit came in for some rough treatment, and I'll decide I'm not going to bowl this final over. Looks as if it's going to be Irie to bowl the final over. The Pindra Singh Irie, as Asif Hooper has gotten rid of the helmet, and at 182 for 8. We really want to get as close as possible to 200. Hooper drives down to long on. They take 1, and that's all it's going to be. 183 for 8 with 5 more deliveries remaining. So here's Irie. This time to Sherman Lewis, and Lewis is looking to work this one somewhere into that mid-wicket position. He got an outside edge, and it rolled all along the turf into the fence. And that's 4 very important runs there for the Windward Islands Volcanoes. So 4 off the bat of Lewis, not where he would have intended to, but nonetheless, runs are runs. And the total advance is now to 187 for the loss of 8. Lewis just having a look around and knocks his pads in the process, as Irie will come into bowl. And this one again, well, there was no bat on the ball, and it finds its way into the fence. 4 byes. So all important for the Volcanoes. 191 now for the loss of 8. And I believe we have some 3 more deliveries to come. Lewis with the bats. Certainly has not been commanding, but he's done enough to add 8 runs in the last 2 deliveries for the Windward Islands. As Irie now comes in. And this one is safe into the gloves of wicketkeeper Asif. And total remains at 191 for 8. Lewis to this delivery, drives, and it's going to get pretty close to the fence. It's 4 well taken runs. A wonderful off drive there from Sherman Lewis. 195 for the loss of 8. But it surely was a shot of a batsman of class, as he just leaned back and just drove that one into that cover boundary. And 195 as Irie with the final delivery, and batsman in the process taking the single. So 196 for 8. That's the end of the Windward Islands Volcanoes, just 4 runs short of the 200 mark, and they would have certainly had that big partnership between August and Kavem Hodge. Would have lost their way somewhere in the middle, but with the likes of that wonderful innings, I should say, from Dylan Douglas, pulling things back and ensuring that the Windward Islands put a very decent total on the board, 196 for the loss of 8, as we see the 2 players making their way back, and the Nepal team certainly heading off to take a break here at the Park Hill playing field. And runs on the board are certainly runs on the board, but this Nepal team has demonstrated that it do possess a fair amount of firepower. One recall that 206 made by the West Indies A when they visited Nepal, and the Nepalese team would have gotten across the line with almost an over to spare. So the Windward Islands certainly will have to make sure that they stick to the proper bowling plan and try to restrict this Nepal team to under 196. We're going to take a break at this point in time, and when we come back, of course, bringing to you live coverage of the response from Team Nepal.